Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and another Today in Tarkov. We'll get you caught up here on everything that happened this week, and that way you know what's going on. Now, a week ago, we got a video from BSG, almost a week ago on Sunday, I guess depends on when you're watching this. We got a video from BSG called The Chronicles of Ryshy. Now, the interesting thing is they've actually changed the thumbnail on this and the title, and it now says The Chronicles of Ryshy Chapter 1. So that tells us more's coming, obviously. Now, with this video, we got access to the ARRS system, which is something BSG uses. It's kind of a mini game, if you will. It's a fake hacking thing. Go solve ciphers, clues, things like that. They've used for a couple of times, including when they launched the game. Now, the community, the Tarkov community, blasted through this whole event in less than a day. I mean, you could measure it in hours rather than days on how fast they figured everything out and pointed us in the right direction of stuff. Now, if you're just tuning in and you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, I did a video last week catching everybody up on Ryshy, who he is, and why this video is important that they did last week. But back to the whole cipher thing, the community discovered these riddles and clues that led to 5 letters that were stashed around the world in reality, like real bottles. People had to go get them. There was one in Russia, one in the United States, Turkey, Japan, and France, all on beaches or next to water. They were letters in a bottle, essentially. And the general stories were kind of all over the place, but they were all from a terror group employee who had been kidnapped, abducted, taken into custody, however you want to look at it, by terror group security, and had interest shown in them because they had some kind of special genome in their DNA. Now, after all these letters were discovered and translated, BSG put another lore letter out Wednesday from a mysterious individual who was helping with this. Now, thanks to Midnight Lyrics and our Discord for deciphering, for translating this stuff for us. Without him, we wouldn't know what much of this was, and I can't ask him questions about kind of lost in translation stuff. So huge thanks to Midnight for helping us out with these, as always. It says, "Greetings, Mr. Redhead. You don't know me, and I don't know you, but the story of your father and terror group got me emotional. You can think of me as an anonymous well-wisher from the internet. Knowing that you do not have enough knowledge in the terms of information security, I decided to help you. Together with other hackers that care, we managed to hack ciphers of Mr. Kerman and also decipher his file, blah, 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 .inf, in which there was the data about the notes in the bottle, which you would find useful. The whole file he's talking about is the thing on the ARS system that the guys cracked. We have to admit, they were hidden pretty well, and the final decipher was looking like blind walking inside a labyrinth with a lot of traps, and alone, I would never manage to do that. Because of that, you can be thankful to Mini Pickguard, Azlramaturk, Stingray072, PiratTTV_YouTube, Mesio Kisamasu, I'm saying all of these wrong, and then, of course, Sons of Soon, that's Nice Guy's whole crew of tinfoil hat-wearing connoisseurs, if you will. It says, we gathered all of the messages, translated them, and forwarded them to you. I think you should show them to Samoyov. He might know what to do with that information. Good luck with finding any information about your father. Best wishes, hackers all around the world." Now, Samoyov is Mechanic's first name as well. Probably saying it wrong. Sorry if I am. So it appears that Ryshy is supposed to give these letters or the information in them to Mechanic, and we can move forward with whatever this event is. But is this something the community has to do? Is it something BSG has to do? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. Right now, the general thought is we're just going to wait around for BSG to do something else because nobody else has come up with any other ideas so far. Now, to me, this strikes me as this was kind of like a trigger point for BSG. They had this whole process set up to take several days, and they didn't expect the community to blast through it all the way on Sunday. And had they got stuck or we hadn't figured everything out, this anonymous benefactor would have put a thing out on Wednesday, like he had an hour maybe later, finishing the story up so we knew what was going on. At least that's how I read the letter, kind of how it was changed, maybe modified, but it's just me guessing. It's my opinion. There's I don't know anything more than anybody else. Now, I'm hopeful this isn't just another nothing burger, kind of like the arena announcement was, and we actually have some kind of event on the way or in the process. And I really do believe that by the structure of this. Ryshy's whole story arc, I believe, was to introduce us to the Lightkeeper in the game. And that was supposed to happen with a 12-12 wipe, earlier this year. But because of some unknown reason, the Lightkeeper wasn't ready. I don't know if it was technical, story, lore, I have no idea, but I just feel like he wasn't ready and BSG needed more time, so he essentially delayed. And this story that we were getting weekly, sometimes daily updates with on Ryshy, just stopped. We got nothing for the better part of like 5 months now. Now, with BSG reviving the story with a YouTube video and IRL messages, it signals to me that we're back on the path to introducing Lightkeeper. And that's at the very least, because they didn't go through all this work creating basically a short film with Ryshy that is apparently chapter 1 with more to be on the way for just shits and giggles. I believe this is going to be really important. But there's some other things that have happened outside of Tarkov as well. On Thursday, BSG tweeted out a comparison video showing the progress from AMD FSR 1.0 to 2.1. Now, without getting into the really technical details of this, FSR is AMD's upscaling technology. Now, right now, FSR 1.0 is in the game, so it seems to be that BSG is showing us that they're upgraded to 2.1. Now, the example provided by BSG looks great, but again, it's marketing material. Everyone's experiences with these technologies is going to be it's going to vary greatly. It's going to be all over the place, and this includes DLSS. FSR is kind of AMD's version of DLSS, if you will. So just keep that in mind, try it out, see if it works for you, see if it helps. If it doesn't, don't use it. If it does, awesome. I'm happy for you. Now, the last thing we got for the week is a Q&A with Nikita from Haybox. Now, I'm going to try not to be overcritical here because I'm obviously not in the arena. I'm not down there fighting and boxing with this, so it kind of sucks for me to stand outside and be critical. And Q&A formats are very difficult, especially with BSG. They're hard to get answers out of, even with good questions. And I'm definitely not on board with how the community's kind of leaned in on this and they're bashing the Q&A. That doesn't help anybody. But they're definitely left a lot to be desired here. I don't think the questions were very good. We didn't get anything new. A lot of this stuff was rehashed and some of it just didn't make any sense at all. For example, the one question that I don't get at all, I'll quote part of it here. It says, the most discussed question in the community is whether or not Escape from Tarkov is coming to Steam. And it goes on a little bit more. And Nikita talks about that. But what? I mean, just what? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but to be a member of the Tarkov community, you've probably got to be playing the game and be involved, right? That means you've bought the game, which means you don't care if it's coming to Steam because you already own it. I mean, who out there is actually asking about Steam if they own the game? I mean, maybe I'm off base here, maybe I'm wrong, but for this to be a question, let alone the most discussed question that they came up with, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It was just a waste of an opportunity for a question, in my opinion. I mean, I've never even once heard this discussed by anybody in the community about whether they care about Steam or not. Nikita's had the question asked before, but I don't know. This one just really rubbed me the wrong way because it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't get us anything. It doesn't get us any answers. But there are a few points I do want to bring up real quick, just because they are kind of worth discussing or bringing up and maybe reminding people of. First, I don't think that anywhere in this Q&A indicates that Lightkeeper is paused or isn't coming. Opposite of that, actually, with everything else we've seen. The whole discussion about the team focusing only on streets or arena was geared more towards map creation, expansion criteria, etc., things like that. So on top of this, and when you look at previous interviews and discussions with Nikita, it comes across to me that the biggest hurdle with streets right now or anything else in the game is technical issues. For example, Lighthouse, right? The map is done. You can play it in the beta. But there is a large chunk of the player base that can barely run it on their computers. It's not optimized. It runs like crud, and it sucks to be on that map to the point where some players won't play it. And there's even a section of players that I know are out there because they come to me and ask for help, and I can't provide anything. I have no idea how to deal with this. They can't even play Lighthouse at all. It either crashes their computer, they get disconnected. It's so choppy that you can't even hardly move around the map. That's where I think we see streets on right now, but on steroids. The map or the area is mostly done. Maybe it's technically playable, but in order to have any semblance of immersive gameplay, you have to have like a NASA computer to run the thing. And that's obviously not acceptable. And I think that's what BSG seems to be working on right now. And from what we've seen from some of their updates, I think that makes sense. They're focusing on networking, and I guess netcode might be the word for it, but just making everything run better. And I believe this ties into this entire wipe where we've seen almost no content. To me, I feel like Nikita and BSG as a company has decided to take time and just work on technical issues in the back end, rather than focus on content or worry about adding new stuff to the game that could break it further. Now, I get it. It does suck not having new content, especially for a whole wipe, especially on a game like Tarkov that is heavily content driven. You know, for players, it sucks because there's nothing new in the game and you don't have anything to do. But for content creators, it's brutal for us. It makes creating content harder. It makes our lives harder. It makes jobs harder. It makes it down to making money. But not that you guys need to care about that. I'm just trying to show you my perspective of this. It sucks not having new content, but I am glad they're doing it. There are many issues in this game that have existed since before I even started playing it, and they're still there. But they're not necessarily game breaking, and we as veterans just kind of learn to play around them and they become part of the game. And these issues just don't get addressed because bigger ones come up when they add new content or more stuff breaks, and they have to focus on fixing that rather than, rounding off the corners of some of these other problems. So with them taking some time to work on it, hopefully we'll see some progress on this stuff and get a more smoother running, a compatible game. More content is going to come eventually. We will get events. We're going to get, updates and patches that are going to add guns and every stuff like that. It'll come. And when it does, all the quote unquote dead game smooth brain people out there, they're going to come rolling back to the game like they do every wipe. This is not new. This whole dead game is dying bullshit. It happens every wipe. It just does. The summertime's worse because we get other games that show up and we've got a bad stretch of low content right now, but I'm not worried. I think the game's fine. Now, other top points from the Q&A, mostly stuff we already know, but I'll mention anyways. The advanced hitboxes and custom rigs, they're a frozen feature right now. We probably won't see them till 1.0, according to Nikita. And the same thing with any kind of other expansions or maps, changes like that, and then game balancing. That's not going to happen probably till 1.0 either, it sounds like. He did mention the mobile app for the hideout, which I haven't heard him say anything about, but honestly, nobody's asked him either in a little over a year. So it seems like BSG is well on their way to doing that. They just don't have the time and energy to put an app together. They have, sounds like the artwork and the design and the principles done. The actual physical building of the app isn't there. So good news, kind of, I guess. Here's more stuff we got to wait on, which there's a big list of that they want to do, but isn't going to happen anytime soon. It's just kind of what it is. But I suggest you go read the Q&A for yourself. Don't base your opinions or your thoughts on goobers like me or other content creators. We all have our own biases and our own way of looking at shit. So get your own take on some of these questions and answers. Plus, if you're a new player, there might be stuff in here you don't know about that you could get some information on, and come by the stream and ask me what I think. And I can kind of explain any of the history that you might know about around the question to get you a little bit better informed. Just keep in mind that English is Nikita's second language, and he self-admittedly is not really good at it. So there is a lot that gets lost in translation with him. So just keep that in mind when you're reading through stuff. Even when it's text like this and it has a chance to be edited and looked at and refined, it still has issues. But that's it for this week. I'm glad to be able to bring you guys some content again. You guys are always asking to see my tits, and so here we go. We got a Today in Tarkov for you, even if it is a little bit anticlimactic. Fingers crossed we'll get more movement on the Ryshy story here in the following days. And we don't have to wait too much long, and I'll keep you updated if we get that. But with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in Tarkov.